everybody, and welcome to our week number 16 live stream. Hard to believe that we are in week 16. We only have a very short time left of our class, but thank you so much for those of you who are here with me and getting logged in. Can you all hear me and see me just fine? Just making sure everyone can hear and see me okay. Hello, nice to see a bunch of you in here. Amy and Dana, Natalie, hello. Someone let me know if you can hear me all right before I keep going. Perfect. Thank you so much for letting me know. So if you are on our course homepage here and we scroll all the way down to the bottom, we are right here in week number 16. So we have this week and next week, and then our class is over. So we are very, very close to the end of the semester. So I hope you're all hanging in there. I want to give you a little bit of feedback about last week, just a couple of thoughts, and then we will look at what we have going on this week. And then we have one more week after this and one more live stream that we will do next week. So again, I know we're getting close to the end of the semester, and this is always such an overwhelming and busy time. But hang in there. You are very, very close. Last week, right, if I bring up last week's materials just really quickly here, we were in week number 15, focusing on chapter 14, a little bit tricky there. Overall, really nicely done on discussion number 15. It was kind of a normal week in that we had the one discussion to do and that was it. But really nicely done talking about replication and generalization in the real world, bringing up some of the things, reasons why the study might have failed. I was really impressed. A lot of you clearly utilized the table in the book, which is fantastic. And then great job talking about the two potential improvements that we might make in the future, both with this study and then with just research in general. So overall, really nicely done. The vast majority of you got full points. A few of you, I said, I wanted a little bit more. I just wanted you to elaborate a little bit more. So make sure, as always, that you're continuing to give me very full, comprehensive responses. Don't forget to reply to a classmate. The vast majority of you seem like you have that down, but there's still definitely a couple of people who are consistently missing out on those very easy 2 points. So you always want to make sure you're getting those. And again, last week, kind of a normal week. This week is our last kind of typical week that we have, where we have a lecture video, a discussion, the extra credit, and that's it. Next week will be our final week of the semester, and we have the exam, a little closing survey, and the experiment proposal project, along with one question to answer at the end as well. So next week, I will be talking about all of those materials for the final week. And remember, that week is actually open at this point. If you would like to work ahead, you are more than welcome to do so. And then next week, I will focus on those pieces of information and those projects and things that we have going on. But if you wanted to work ahead, the study guide is there for the exam. The proposal project is there along with some samples underneath it and everything. So you are definitely welcome to get started on that if you would like to. So for this week, though, since we are in week number 16, we're focusing on chapter 4. So as always, you will want to read chapter 4 in the textbook. That's probably the best thing to do first. And then you can come on here and read through the lecture that I made for you. So this chapter is on ethical guidelines for psychology research. And I think this is a nice way to kind of wrap up our content. Hopefully it'll be helpful as well for that experiment proposal project that's due next week. But what you'll be looking at here is kind of defining ethical principles, looking at the Belmont report, and then describing procedures that we use to protect research participants and so on. A couple of studies here that violated those ethical principles before they were around, like the Tuskegee syphilis study, the Milgram obedience study, and so on. And then there's a couple of others, some ethical principles and standards and guidelines for animal research as well. Beyond the book, I have a little bit about a couple of other famous unethical studies, like the Stanford prison experiment, some of the behaviorism stuff, like with little Albert, and then also on helplessness with dogs. So it's definitely important that we have these ethical guidelines in place now, because they haven't always been there, and they are designed to protect participants, whether they are human or animal. So very important topic to kind of wrap up our content for the semester. And then, as always, on the last page, you have your key terms that you need to know for the exam. So make sure that you know everything on here for exam number number 4, right, our final exam that we have. Other than that, you will, of course, want to watch my little lecture video that I made for you like I do every week, lecturing to some PowerPoint slides. And look, I'm sitting in the exact same spot I am now. So a little bit about psychological research and ethical guidelines. So you'll want to watch that and take notes and pay attention as usual. And then, of course, you do have the discussion for this week, discussion number 16. So let's take a look at that together. And as always, I have your instructions up here, along with a short video kind of highlighting the discussion topic and giving you some more instructions. But for this one, you're going to be applying the knowledge that you gained from Chapter 4 on ethical guidelines for psychology research. You're going to read the short scenario below and then answer the questions related to Chapter 4. So you have 2 little scenarios. Research scenario number 1. A developmental psychologist applies to an institutional review board, an IRB, proposing to observe children ages 2 to 10 playing in a local McDonald's play area. Because the area is public, the researcher does not plan to ask for informed consent from the child's parents, or the children's parents. Scenario number 2. A social psychologist plans to hand out surveys in her undergraduate class. The survey asks about students' study habits. The psychologist does not ask the students to put their names on the survey. Instead, students will put completed surveys into a large box at the back of the room. Because of the low risk involved in participation and the anonymous nature of the survey, the researcher requests to be exempted from formal informed consent procedures. So for each of those 2 scenarios, what I'd like you to do is answer these 2 questions. So answer them for both. What ethical concerns exist for the study? Be specific and be sure to reference specific concepts from Chapter 4 in order to receive full credit. And then what questions might an IRB ask about the research study? What else do we need to know? So I'm looking to see that you can pull the information from Chapter 4 on ethical guidelines and apply them to these 2 different, very brief research scenarios. As usual, you'll hit reply and you can post your responses like Julia did here, for example, and several others. And then don't forget to also reply to a classmate to get those 2 points. So as usual, it's worth 15 points in total. And I will be grading those on Monday night next week, as always. The other thing that you have for this week, of course, is an optional extra credit question, which I'll give you in a moment. But as I said, I just wanted to point out really quickly, one more time, that exam number 4, an anonymous closing class survey, the experiment proposal project, and all of the materials for week 17 are also available. And I'm going to put this in the chat. Our class officially ends on Sunday, May 14th at 11:59 p.m. Okay, so just something to be mindful of, right? We have all of this week and all of next week, but as I mentioned earlier, we are definitely getting very close to the end of our semester. And you're welcome to work ahead and work on this proposal project. Just make sure that it is turned in next week by Sunday night, like everything says on here is due. And again, I'll spend some time next week talking about the proposal project, but I have lots of examples here if you would like them. We'll go over some stuff with the exam. So just make sure you bring any questions you have about either of those next week. Otherwise, what I'll do is I will give you a couple of reminders and then our extra credit question for this week. So let me put the first reminder here in the chat. As usual, if you could take a moment to just double check that you are still subscribed, I would really appreciate that. A lot of you, almost all of you, have fallen off, and we still have this week and next week. So if you could take a moment to go back and link that or do that, I would really appreciate it. The other reminder I have for you is on the 10th, right? So our next Twitch live stream will be on Wednesday, May 10th at 12:30 p.m. Okay, so like usual, we'll do one more live stream next week, and that will be our week 17 live stream, and I will go over all those materials that we have next week. So if you have any questions about them, feel free to email me, but also be here next week, and I will go over all of that. And then otherwise, I do have the extra credit question for you, so let me copy and paste that into the chat. So this is the week number 16 Twitch extra credit question, which is, what are the APA's 5 general ethical principles? And you can just list them. What are the APA's 5 general ethical principles? And this is talked about in the textbook. excuse me, the textbook and the lecture. So you should be able to find those pretty easily. And when you're ready, you'll go back to Canvas. And since we're in week 16, you'll click on optional Twitch extra credit number 16. Then up at the top, you can click on start assignment. And that's going to bring up that text box where you can type your response. Oops. Wow, I'm doing great on the typing today. Type your response and then hit submit. And this is due by Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. so you can get those 2 points of extra credit. And so many of you have been doing this all semester, which I think is fantastic. Hopefully you've been taking advantage of that. Those points will definitely add up and help you with a missed discussion or a low exam score or something like that. This is also a really great time, as a side note, to be checking your grades here on Canvas. So if you click on the grades tab over here, you can see all of your scores for everything. I have a shameful 0 on everything here. Look at I have turned to nothing. Wait, I have 7 points. I lied. I have 7 points in our class. But go ahead and go through this and check all of your grades. If something looks wrong, if you're missing a score for something, you turn something in and it's not reflected on here, this is a really wonderful time for you to let me know. Once the class ends, it's very difficult for me to change your grade. We have to get signatures and forms and all sorts of stuff. Versus if something is incorrect now and you let me know, I can go in here and update it. So sometime today or tomorrow or this week, take a quick moment, check your grades. Let me know if anything is off and needs to be adjusted. I will, of course, post a recording of this as soon as we're done. I'll post that here under modules, right? So when we're done today, you'll be able to find that and scroll all the way down to the bottom here. We're so far down into the class. When we're done, I will post it right here on under the week number 16 recording as always. So feel free to look for that. Otherwise, are there any questions, comments, thoughts, anything at all that I can answer for any of you, all of you who are here with me? Right. I'll just wait a few minutes here and hang out, of course, to see if you have any questions. And again, make sure next week when we talk about the final exam and the experiment proposal project, if you have anything you're confused about or have questions about, feel free to bring those questions with you. I would always be happy to look at a draft for you. If you want to email me a draft early for some feedback, I'd be more than happy to take a look. Otherwise, what I'll do, I'll hang out for a little bit to see if you have any questions. We have one last Twitch live stream next week, which is, again, so hard to believe that we are at that point in the semester. But I'll hang out for a little while. I'm going to minimize my video just so I'm not staring at myself. But if you have any questions or anything I can answer, put them in the chat. Otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Hang in there. We're getting close. Enjoy the rain that we're supposed to get tonight, I suppose. And I will hope to see all of you next week. So again, I'll hang out for a little while here. If you do have any questions for me, feel free to put them in the chat. Well, yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful day. I'll see you next week for a last live stream that we have.